Today was definitely an interesting day for Helldivers 2, as we saw the community start to openly call out issues with the game and with Arrowhead, and this wasn't over on Reddit. Plus, some all-important pick rates started to come in with more than a few surprises on there, so definitely stick around for that. If you want to help support the channel, please hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell. If you're on mobile, please swipe right to hype the video. And now, let's go ahead and get stuck into everything Helldivers. Things looked like they were in the bag for the Helldivers army, as we were blitzing Hort, and it seemed we were cruising to another early major order victory. That is, until Game Master Joel and his team stepped in with another last-minute attack, this time back on 𝗲𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃, forcing us to square one with the current Squid MO. Now, I grabbed this in-game footage just a few short hours ago, and we were sitting at a total number of players logged on worldwide of under 70,000, which, you know, could be down to it being a Monday evening, but more than likely it's because of the faction this major order is focused on. 𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃 has just under 41,000 sets of boots planetside, and we did just pick up a pretty significant liberation percentage there when we captured the one city on the planet's surface. But even with that city capture and the DSS overhead, we are projected to fail liberating the planet by just about an hour. Also, an interesting point here, worthy of mention, is that the personal order for today is to kill 10 elevated overseers, which, yeah, sounds pretty straightforward enough until you look at what faction is spawning on 𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃. You see, mindless masses do not include elevated overseers, like, at all. So not only are we tasked with clawing back 𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃, but even the personal order is designed to send players to another planet other than this one, as they chase after those all-important medals to continue to unlock items from the Entrenched Division Warbond. It's these 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗃 1-2 combos slipped in by the Game Master team that has pushed some players to just say, "F it, I'm going to squad up with the homies and dive whatever the hell planet and faction I want to." Also, now that I think back to it, I remember something similar when we were blitzing Cyberstan, in that the personal order was to kill Scout Striders, which, for anyone that was there fighting on C-Stan, you know that enemy unit did not spawn anywhere on that planet. And since we're here talking about the Squid and this current Illuminate Major Order, I've read many of your comments mentioning the flying overseers and how you've noticed the increased damage they are hitting your vehicles for. Back in February, when we got the Bastion tank, remember that? Well, there was patch 6.0.0 that came in alongside that ushered in a ton of changes, including how Arrowhead buffed up certain enemy damage types like durable damage versus our Helldiver vehicles. In that patch, it showed both the standard overseers, which are the ones that carry the energy shields and swing that wild death baton, along with the Crescent variants who lob in those plasma mortars from way downtown. But the key point here, and what was missing in the patch notes, were the changes made to the elevated overseers. You see, they also picked up a tier of armor penetration, bumping them up from AP 3, where they previously were, to 4. So that's heavy armor pen when hitting a target directly and not with an angled shot. So, for those of you, say, bringing down an FRV, maybe a ballistic shield, the Bastion tank, or one of those highly valuable mechs versus the Illuminate, I think it goes without saying that making any overseer a priority target is vital to keeping you in the fight, because left unchecked, they can ruin your Helldiver armored power fantasy. Not that is all that powerful right now, but you get the picture. I wanted to say that I've also read many of your comments talking about Arrowhead and how they communicate, or choose not to communicate. We've recently seen what happened over on the Reddit, which, yes, I know was announced to not be the official Reddit for Helldivers, begging the question why a game with over 20 million copies sold does not manage its own Reddit. But what we saw today was not coming to us from Reddit, but rather from the official HD2 Discord itself, as this member went on to raise a lot of questions directed at both the game and the comms team. And here's what they said. F it, might as well try, and then they tagged the entire community team. Over the past several MOs, there's been a growing resentment of different player groups that prioritize certain factions, and they go on to mention bug divers, bot divers, and squid divers. With this recent MO, more than half the player base ignored the objective and played to the fronts they prefer. Because of this, players that did do the MO feel frustrated, like they wasted their time even with a close victory. Furthermore, people have been asking if the liberation system is ever going to be reworked, because it seems to me that with how the player base is currently, progress is going to stagnate and people are only going to become either more divisive or toxic to one another. Finally, you, the community team, don't seem to be active enough or discussing these issues publicly with us. Then they go on to use all caps and bold, the community of your game, and what methods you'd employ to working on these issues and fixing these problems. I know you guys read these. I know you guys know all the issues we're facing. We need someone, a community manager or whoever you choose, to at least interact with us regularly enough and give us updates to these issues so the player base isn't trying to eat itself alive. And from there, community manager Baskinator actually did respond. Here's what she said. I understand, and yes, we are very aware of all those things. We interact a lot, actually. This channel moves a bit too fast for people to see much, but I'm very active in the Galactic War and talk about these things specifically. We have passed on to the team all the things you brought up here, and we bring them up regularly whenever they surface in the community as part of our weekly reports. But I don't have any updates for you on it, other than continuing to say we shared your feedback. I also kind of hate saying that over and over again, though I do, because it does upset people after a while. Okay, before I weigh in with some of my thoughts on this Discord OP, drop a comment below about where you feel Arrowhead's community team is landing as far as them being effective. Are they nailing it, doing kind of average, or really missing the mark? You know, that sort of thing, as I do want to take a look at where my viewers are falling on this community issue. Now, I went in and took a 30,000 foot tour of the comms team's recent responses, and overall they tend to be vague. Sometimes you get an emoji, some of them have nothing to do with the game, and I think you get the picture here. I remember back when Helldivers was overall pretty new, say, you know, the first 3 or 4 months, and we used to get daily updates. I mean, issues were raised, pissed off players were popping off in the Discord, and there were immediate and detailed responses. Back then, Arrowhead recognized that a simple response, even when they didn't have any sort of remedy or answers, was appreciated, because nothing torques a player more than them trying to play the game they want to love. They are having issues with it. They voice those issues, and then they're met with total silence. Also, we tend to get a flurry of answers and details when the community is most heated, like in the case of Arrowhead's official site, which is to this day has published a total of 4 dev blogs. 1 before the game ever launched, and the final 3 when the player base was pissed, either over nerfs or some other issues. But I also wanted to hop back to this post made in the official Discord. And by the way, props to the OP for taking the time to type all this out and post their thoughts for all to see. Anyways, first off, the bug versus bot versus squid diver thing has been there for a long time. So that's nothing new. It may be recently escalating to a higher level, but it's been there boiling under the surface for quite a while. Players feeling frustrated while playing the MO and tackling the objectives, all while fighting the Galactic War modifier, is also nothing new. I've talked about this in many past videos, but back before we had mega cities and went through the Battle of Super Earth, we could put small guerrilla forces on planets and either hold or liberate them, but that system was shifted to forcing the mob mentality onto the Helldivers player base. Now you either all attack a planet or face the push from the modifier, making 0 progress in your efforts. As far as the statement they made directed at the community team, I'd have to agree. To me, being an effective comms team is more than responses here or there. It's about handling the tough ones. It's about letting players know their concerns are being heard, and it also prioritizes getting them answers and or updates. If anything, what it sounds like is that the comms team is compiling weekly reports to send over to the game devs, who largely ignore the player feedback, and that cycle continues on a daily refresh. But yeah, the communication is needed, and not only that, the level of communication has to be improved. There's a way to do this right and a way to do it to a minimum standard, and from what this post was saying and from what many players are echoing, the status quo is simply not good enough. And finally, the pick rates are starting to roll in. And thanks to Helldive.live, we are starting to get an idea of what the trends are with the Helldivers player base post-Entrenched division going live. Now, since the time that War Bond actually dropped, which, by the way, was March 17th, we've been tasked exclusively with Illuminate major orders. So for now, that faction is all we have stats for, but they're kind of revealing. First up are the stratagems, and this shows eagles, orbitals, defensive, and support stratagems all kind of lumped in together, with the orbital laser destroying the rest of our armories, netting an almost 35% pick rate. From there, the rest of the top 10 includes the Gatling Sentry, 500 kg Machine Gun Sentry, Rocket Sentry, Supply Pack, Orbital Gatling Barrage, Auto Cannon Sentry, Eagle Strafing Run, and the Liberator version of the Guard Dog. Now, I was initially surprised to see the Cremator managing only a 4.7% pick rate, but with the average rank of the Helldivers picking it sitting at rank 113, I'm starting to get the feeling that the Cremator is not yet unlocked for many players who have been grinding for the medals to purchase it. Same thing kind of goes for the Gas Sentry, with an average player rank of 116 and a pick rate of just 3.1%. And finally, how about the newly changed and buffed Aggro Machine, aka the One True Flag? Well, according to this site, for the Illuminate faction, it is seeing just a 0.1% pick rate, just slightly ahead of the long-forgotten Sterilizer. How about the armor sets? Well, this is much closer looking than the stratagems, with Siege Ready taking top spot, probably because of the extra ammo and primary reload speed to combo with the Sweeper. A bit of foreshadowing there. Anyways, the medium Entrenched division Sapper armor with Grenadier is sitting second, and then its Engineering Kit, Med Kit, Democracy Protects, aka the Plot armor, Extra Padding, which I personally love versus the Squid, Reduced Signature, the heavy reinforced variant of the Entrenched division armor, and Flammable and Fortified rounding out the top 10. Secondary weapons had a few surprises here, with the Ultimatum trouncing the rest of the competition, sporting a 24.2% pick rate, nearly doubling second place, which is surprise number 2. It's the Warrant. From there, it's the Grenade Pistol, the Senator, the Talon, the Redeemer, and then surprise number 3 here, the Entrenchment Tool, the Peacemaker, the new Veto, and finally the Verdict, finishing it off in 10th place. And before we get to it, any guesses what the #1 most picked primary is currently versus the Illuminate faction? Well, if you guessed the Sweeper, you'd be right. But be forewarned, this isn't a runaway victory here, as just a little over 2% less is the Stoker SMG. I guess you ladies and gents out there like that nice mix of high ballistic damage and the improvements to fire. Number 3 is the good old Coyote, the Eruptor, Lib Penetrator, Trident, Scorcher, Liberator, Exploding Crossbow, and in 10th is the Dickel, also known as the Double-Edged Sickle. But yeah, personally, I'd like to revisit these pick rates in a couple of weeks when more players have had time to log in and kind of purchase some more of the Entrenched division items, like say the Cremator, but clearly the new primaries from the last War Bond, scratch that. I should probably say the one new primary and the Superstore item are currently connecting well with the fandom, along with another surprise, 2 of the new concussive armor sets in there as well. But here's where I turn to you, my viewers, for your valuable feedback. Drop a comment about the current major order, the Illuminate faction, the post talking about the comms team, or the current pick rates, as I'm genuinely interested in what you have to say. If you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my future upload alerts. If you're on mobile, please take advantage of the swipe to hype function. And before I go, I'd like to say I had a blast squatting up with some of our channel members this past weekend, and I appreciate you supporting me and the channel. Until the next one, this is 𝗲𝗏𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗃 signing off.